Hello, it's Morgan Fulbright, and I have a group of artifacts to present to my class today. I'm in my classroom where I have been teaching remotely for this entire school year so far. So I selected some artifacts that I have in my classroom all the time. Some of them are specific to teaching, some of them are more personal, um, but I've found that keeping these artifacts with me, either on my desk or on the shelf, they remind me of certain things and help to connect, my home and my personal life, or past experiences in the classroom. And they also help to generate conversations with my students, which is another way of connecting my outside the classroom experiences and theirs as well. Um, so my first one is something that I've had in my classroom since I want to say since my second year of teaching. My first 2 years of teaching, I taught at my old high school where I graduated from, where my mom was also a teacher. And she retired after my first year of teaching. So I inherited a lot of things from her classroom when she retired, since I was in the same school building. So one was this magic 8 ball that I've kept on my desk ever since then. And it sparks lots of conversation with my students, because they love using it to ask silly questions like, "Am I going to pass this class?" And then they'll ask the magic 8 ball. And I always get to tell the story of how I came to have the magic 8 ball. Another thing that I have from very early on in my teaching career is my Snoopy calendar. My very first mentor from teaching, again, when she retired after my second year of teaching, she gave me her Snoopy calendar. Um, and it's always on my desk, so it's always a reminder of her and all of the great lessons that I learned from her my first couple years of teaching. And she's remained a great friend since then. Um, and also a new collection, or a new artifact to add to my collection in my classroom, from another retired teacher, one of my best teaching friends ever, that I've been working with for over 10 years. She retired last year. And so once again, inherited some things from her classroom, but this was one of my favorite things. And so again, it reminds me of her all the time when I see it in my classroom. I also keep this on my desk. It is a box full of notes, from 2 classes a couple of years ago. Um, I had the classes year long, and I co-taught the class, both sections of the class, with a social studies teacher. And so we had built lots of really close relationships with these students throughout the entire year. And so at the end of the year, they presented both of us with a box like this, and each and every single student in both sections of the class wrote a note, thanking us or giving us some kind of compliment or affirmation. And so I love keeping this around because there are days that are not so great in the world of public education. And so on those days, I like to pull these out and read a couple of them, and reminds me of why I'm in this particular job. And my last artifact is actually this poster on the wall. It's from 2019, but I've kept it up since I started it in 2019. It is a printout of the covers of all of the books that I personally read in 2019, and I like to keep it on the wall in my classroom, because I encourage my students to do independent reading in our English classes, and they can pick any book that they want as long as their parents approve of it and it's grade appropriate or reading level appropriate. And I keep this up in my classroom because students love looking at it, and they get ideas from the books, or they'll see a cover and they'll ask a question about it. And it sparks a lot of conversation about different types of books and different types of stories. And I have a lot of students who will read some books based on what we talk about after seeing this particular poster. So those are my artifacts and the things that I like to keep around me in my classroom.